let's roll that
Merlin
into
cannot play
baseball.
basketball.
Huh?
Merlin could not play basketball. Just wanted to put that out there.
Merlin cannot. He's not very good. It's true.
He
Even
can't
though
jump.
he's lived his life backwards and he knows exactly what you're going to do, you're right. His ups, not quite there.
No.
What can you do? But yeah, so let's roll that over into some MLB talk. And let's start it off with Mashiro Tanaka. I'll give you a little bit of update on him. He actually recently came out and said that his elbow is now fine. So maybe that PRP procedure that we were talking about a couple weeks ago, maybe it worked pretty well because he did have a slight tear in one of his ligaments in his elbow. So if he's throwing well this soon after, I mean, must have done something good for him, right?
Yeah, I would hope so.
But yeah, I'm like, he's not even.
Unless it's one of those things where it helps him get to a point where he can do stuff quickly, but him doing stuff too soon is going to wear it down quickly, and he's going to be in a worse state. Because we've seen that happen too.
Yeah,
in general,
we certainly have. Yeah, rushing people back from injury too fast. But I don't see him really pitching for the rest of this year because the Yankees are pretty much out of the playoffs. Doesn't look like they're really going to have too much of a shot at even a wild card berth. So why bring him back for nothing if you don't have to? Now he still has to go through rehab starts. They're going to do some simulated games with him and some stuff to just kind of get him back in the flow. But he does say his elbow's fine, so I think that's a pretty cool sign.
I mean, he says his elbow's fine, and maybe it feels fine to him, but that's the other thing too. You got to remember with a lot of athletes is they want to play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of them are going to be a little bit more concerned, but some of them are going to fudge things and say, "Yeah, I feel fine. Let me get out of the field, or let me go back to practice. It's fine. I can shake it off. Whatever.
Rub some dirt on it. It'll be fine."
Yeah, it's not a big deal, especially when they get to the pro.
But where did that expression "rub some dirt on it" come from? Because that sounds like the opposite of something that would help you. It's like, oh, I cut my knee. Oh, rub some dirt on it. You'll be fine. And then
I think that's
a
the
week
point.
later you have to cut off the leg.
I think the point is, oh, it's such a minor wound that you can make it worse. You know, whatever. Just don't be a baby. Maybe if you rub some dirt on it, I would care.
Well,
I'll say maybe that's it. I don't know.
So next time somebody hurts themselves that you don't like, say rub some dirt on it and hope for an infection, I guess. I guess that's what you're looking for, but yeah. So that's good news for New York Yankees. I'm not a New York fan, but I like Mashiro Tanaka. I am a Tanaka fan. So
okay, yeah. I mean, I like him too. And we've talked about him many times now, and
I think he might even be the one baseball figure we've talked about most on the show.
And it just happens to be that way. We didn't plan that, but I guess we planned the show. But
well, our first topic about him, but yeah. Let's move on to some more MLB notes and news. And I want to talk about the debacle that is the Chicago Cubs grounds crew, because on Tuesday night they were playing a game against the San Francisco Giants. Now the Giants are in the thick of their every game counts for them. I mean, every game counts a lot for them. Right now, the Giants are actually 3.5 games back of the LA Dodgers, so every game is very important for them. And it started to rain in Chicago. Now, normally what happens, they have the tarp kind of on the side, the grounds crews kind of just roll it over to position and then just start unrolling it across the diamond so that the dirt doesn't get all wet and you don't get a bunch of water pooling there. Well, instead of rolling it out like the diamond, like it's shaped, they rolled it out sideways so that it didn't cover half of the pitch of the infield. So what happens? It was a 20-minute rainstorm. Now, torrential downpour rainstorm, but 20 minutes of rain caused them to have a 5-hour delay, and then eventually call the game. Now, this is absurd because again, the Giants.
Who would they call it for? Did they call it in Paris?
The Cubs. I believe the Cubs were up by 1 run. So
it was all planned.
Well, hey, yeah, they're like, make it rain.
No, I'm just saying that they rolled it out badly to add an extra delay so that the lead would be maintained.
So, conspiracy theories from words from my face.
I'm just saying, because you've got to think these guys are pro level guys, groundskeepers, whatever they are.
I don't know what the qualifications is to be a groundskeeper to roll out a tarp for. I mean, it could be just nothing like
pro MLB.
You can say Chicago
MLB,
Cubs.
It's got to be big. It's more than the guy that's rolling it out for college and for other stuff. Okay, it's these guys, and these guys have done it many times.
Well, you'd hope they
And
would have practiced it at least once.
it comes up all the time. It's not even like this is the beginning of the season. It probably has happened multiple times this season already.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely has. It definitely has. Which is what when you look at it, when I was seeing the shots from it, it was just like, wait, why don't they want to cover the whole like third base over? And it's like, oh, it's because they put it out the wrong direction. It's just like really.
And they couldn't realize that though, and like change it.
They realized it too late, and then they tried to it was too much water on it. It was too much to get it over, and it was just. I mean, they even like after it stopped raining, because like I said, it was a 20-minute torrential downpour. And then they even brought out like bags of dirt and they replaced like half the infield and just couldn't get the field the way they needed it to be to properly finish the game, so they had to call it. But the Giants manager did actually put in a request with the league to have that game not called at 5 innings and to actually resume play. Now, they did resume play earlier today. Unfortunately, I was at work, so I didn't really see who won. But they did finish the game, so that was a good thing. But really,
I'm surprised.
Grounds crew.
Yeah.
Really.
Again, we're talking about pro level, and we're not talking about one of the smaller teams either in a city that doesn't get a whole lot of money that never goes anywhere. We're talking about the Cubs.
Yeah.
And Chicago's a big baseball town.
Yes.
Right? And the Cubs have been around a very long time, have been very big. They have plenty of money.
Over like 120 years, I would imagine by now.
Yeah, they're one of
started in the 1890s or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
They were one of the first big teams, as far as I'm aware.
Yep.
I mean, in Chicago in general, it's such a big town. It has 2 baseball teams.
Yep.
You know, New York has that.
Support too. And they can support too. So, yeah, it's just shenanigans. I'm calling shenanigans on you. I haven't called shenanigans in a couple weeks. I like calling shenanigans. It's fun for me. Mostly because I like to say shenanigans. Who doesn't? Say it right now at home. Go ahead and say shenanigans, and you just get a smile on your face. Shenanigans. Brendan doesn't think that's funny. He's sitting there frowning at me. You can't see his face down there because he's not talking. He didn't like it. But all right. So let's move it on and talk about some more MLB notes and news. And the Toronto Blue Jays are right now, they are contesting Creighton University's use of a new mascot. They just redesigned their mascot, and they're saying that, hey, it looks a little bit too much like ours. Now, the Creighton is the Blue Jays as well, and so Toronto's the Blue Jays. And my thing is, it's a bird. Your picture is of a bird, and it's a bird that pretty much looks the same all out in nature. How can you contest them for having too close of a look-alike bird?
And honestly, look at the mascots. How many of those mascots are identical to the pro team equivalents, the ones that have them? Like
a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like my high school, I went to a high school. We were called the Falcons, but if you looked at it, it was the exact same logo as Atlanta's. I mean, it was the same thing. No difference. Except for we had different colors.
It was often pretty similar to the Cardinals football team's mascot logo, right? I don't know, and there's so many. We're talking about college too. There's so many colleges out there, and these colleges technically aren't even in the same country, right?
Yeah. One's in America and one's in. Well, it's not colleges. One's a pro team. One's a pro MLB team. I don't need to say pro MLB.
Oh, Toronto
Blue Jays. Toronto Blue Jays. The baseball team.
I don't pay attention to Canada. It was in Canada.
Okay, so looking for somebody who knows the Toronto Blue Jays to help me produce this show. Womp yourself, man. You want me too much. Womp yourself. I'm waiting. No, don't say it's stuck. It's there.
It is
You
stuck.
can womp yourself. No, it's not stuck. You can womp yourself. Oh, you booed yourself. All right, that works, too. I don't know. As long as we all know that.
In my defense, come on now.
It's Canada. I understand. It's Canada.
Pastime.
Not Canada's. I understand.
Canada is not in any kind of America. It's not part of North America. It's really.
Oh, it's not? No longer part of North America. Canada, we have kicked you out of North America. Get out of here.
It's part of the North Pole.
Okay. Well, hey, it technically is part North Pole, so I won't argue that. But it's too much Arctic Circle. That's you. You stay up there.
Exactly.
But
I
so
will
let's
not take responsibility for not knowing about their sports teams.
all right. Fair enough. Fair enough. And let's take that and move it into my favorite story so far for baseball right now, and that is how the Nationals and the Orioles seem to be running away with their divisions, and everybody else is just locked in these pennant races. Now, right now, you have the Nationals; they're 7.5 games up before today's games. I believe after today's games, they're actually 8.5 games up, and you have the Orioles are 9 games up on the Blue Jays and Yankees, and it's pretty funny because every other division is within 3 games. I mean, it's just insane. Like, you look at the Central and the NL, Milwaukee's leading St. Louis by 1.5 games. In the West, LA's over San Francisco only 3.5 games, and they're going to play each other, I believe, 2 more series, so that 3 games can get erased in one series. You have in the Central for the American League, you have Kansas City, our surprise team from last week, still up on Detroit by 1 game. And you have the not LA Dodgers, LA Angels in the West, 1.5 games over the Oakland A's. So you're looking at these teams, everything is close, and then you have these 2 standout teams. And I dare say, if you had told me, I am an Orioles fan, if you had said, hey, at this time next year, the Orioles are going to be 9 games ahead, I would have said you're crazy. The Red Sox are going to be up there. They just won the World Series last year. The Yankees, they spent $100 million on everybody.
Just in general, I think we're so used to the Orioles not being in it, and they've been in it for a few years. We keep saying they've been in it for the last few years. They've been
getting better,
getting better. So it shouldn't be that shocking that we're not shocked that they're in competition necessarily. But
I'm shocked that they're
so
9
used to
games
not
ahead.
being in competition at all, and then now they're so far ahead, and especially because we're talking about such a competitive division. I
mean, this is when you look at the East of almost any of these divisions, like the football NFC East. You're looking at some of the biggest cities in America. I mean, you're looking usually at New York, Washington, one of the Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, usually somewhere in there. But this is Boston, New York, and Baltimore, which traditionally are some of the biggest cities in the country.
Mm-hmm. And New York, the Yankees are known for being in getting World Series left and right.
Well,
Boston
between 1900
is used to being up in there too.
Well, the past couple,
Yeah, I mean, and you think about the biggest rivalries in baseball. You do often think about New York and Boston, and they're usually huge contenders. And the Orioles have been in there before. We've been in this division forever with that competition, but it's just shocking to see the Orioles of that group being the just runaway group, especially since I don't think Baltimore is the bigger money city either. It's definitely not. It doesn't have the baseball money that New York has. I don't think it has.
Boston. I mean, it doesn't have close to it. Nobody has that much money. But the cool thing is the way they're doing it. It seems they're doing it not out of good hitting necessarily, like good average hitting, not out of great defense, not out of great pitching. But these guys are killing the home runs. I think they're 20 home runs above the next closest team with home runs. So, I mean, they're just bombing them left and right, and a lot of that is due to picking up Nelson Cruz. Chris Davis, his average is way down, but his home runs are still up there. You have J.J. Hardy's hitting good home runs, Adam Jones. These guys are just killing the ball. Every single game, it seems like they hit 2 or 3 home runs. And, just yesterday, I think they scored 4 runs.
What you want to see as a fan, especially going to the stadiums.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's about as exciting as it gets right there when you get to see all these home runs going. So it's pretty cool the way they're doing. And then the Nationals, they're running away with their division, and it was very, very closely contested throughout the beginning of this year. I want to say the Marlins were in there for a little bit. The Braves have always been kind of right there behind the Nationals, but it seems like they're kind of setting themselves apart. They're getting a little more distance there. They're, like I said, 7.5 games up, and the way they're doing it, it seems to be through their starting pitching. Their starting pitching is phenomenal. You had Strasburg kind of struggle a little bit in the early part of this year, especially away. At one point, I believe he was 1-8 away from home. So he's kind of picked it up away from home. Doug Fister, this guy's pitching at a Cy Young level right now. And you really just saw a maturation of a team that got a new manager. That team was really solid, but they got this new manager, and he was still trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to play these guys? How many days should I give this guy off? Where should I put him? What position? Just doing a little bit of shuffling. And they did have a string of injuries with Ryan Zimmerman and Bryce Harper going down early. So it's good to see those guys get healthy. Zimmerman's still out,
And,
unfortunately.
yeah, and they
Harper.
had the stupid controversies and tension for the team earlier in the year, but
Mhm,
obviously these guys are professionals. They got over that, and they
mhm.
really pulled things together. So yeah,
Yeah, so here's looking for a Beltway series. That'd be pretty cool, I'd say.
yeah, especially for this area that's, I mean, it's we have these two baseball teams. We're not like the smallest kind of, like, baseball is not off our radar, but because people don't know, we're from the Beltway area, so right.
Oh, they
They
know. They know.
Yeah, because
They
we
know
talk
we
about it all
love.
the time. We talk about the
Yeah,
Orioles. We
we
talk
don't talk
about
about it
Mets.
all the time. We're not homers. What?
But in any
I think I have a
case,
pretty
to have this
objective point
area
of view.
having such high competitive baseball teams right now I mean, it's great, but it also brings baseball to the forefront that it hasn't been in quite some time. Um, the Orioles did well back in the '70s. Like, they had some World Series back in the
70s, early
'70s.
80s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they people still love the Orioles. I've always loved the Orioles, but they've kind of been on the back burner. We have the football teams, especially with Ravens in Baltimore, with their multiple Super Bowls in the last couple the decade or two, and generally doing very well. And Redskins, Washington's a football town, just hands down. Redskins don't have to do well for us to care
And
about
they
Redskins.
usually don't do well for us to care, so.
Even still, we love the
Yeah.
Redskins. We're just a football town. Um, but to have this area get that baseball influx is pretty amazing. Like, for both the
It,
teams
it,
right
it
next to each
definitely
other.
makes the summer a lot nicer because we have these super humid summers over here, and it makes it just so much nicer when you have winning baseball to kind of get you through it. So, yeah, here's looking forward to a Beltway series. So, that is our baseball notes of the night. And so, if you have any comments, anything on any blah, 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 blah.
Blah 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 blah.
But yeah, what I meant to say is if you have any comments on what any of the stories we discussed tonight, hit us up. Let us know in comments down below. Of course, at Words for My Face on Twitter, wordsformyface@gmail.com, Google Plus, and Facebook. All good places to get a hold of us if you think I'm stupid for thinking some of those things, or smart, or if you think Brendan looks funny.